Hello guys, welcome to Two Latin Brothers Podcast, also known as T.L.B.P. I'm Victor.
And I'm Adrian.
And this is the number of episode of which I can't remember because I'm too tired.
I think it's 22.
I think you're correct. So today we have very special guests for you guys. In fact, this man has raised me.
You mean us.
Us. Us.
You mean we.
We. So if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jose.
There you go.
That's our father.
That's our father. Yeah.
Yep. It's like, this is like another situation where we interviewed our sister.
Yeah.
Like, it's like...
It's like, what do we ask? Because we already know.
Yeah, it's the approach, and it's like, what do I say about, like, how do I, like... I mean, I can't really go into detail, be like... He raised me, he's my dad.
Exactly.
That really sums it all up.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Okay, so I'll break it down, because most people, if you're listening to this for the first time, I'll break down. So what we normally do when we have a guest is, either one of us will bring them to the table, or to wherever we are, and then we'll take, whoever brought the friend or whoever, will have the other person ask that person questions, but since we both know our father, logically, we're just gonna kind of rotate asking questions, and I guess we'll see where this goes, really. We're kind of like eyeballing it, really.
Yeah.
You okay with that?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Okay. So are you gonna go first?
You can go first.
Okay. So, to let the people know, what's your favorite sport?
Soccer.
Of course.
Okay.
See, my dad's a very big soccer fan.
Well, soccer and hockey.
Yeah.
That's the Canadian creeping in somewhere.
Well, it's just that hockey, it's a very, very good sport. Highly skilled.
Fast paced.
Fast. I love it. Strategy.
Yeah.
I think that if I would have been born in North America, I would play hockey. And my first sport would probably be hockey. But it's soccer, and I just watch hockey. But I enjoy it very much.
I guess we should explain where our father's from. I mean...
Somewhere in Latin America.
Okay, somewhere in Latin America. Because we're like, as you guys know, we're Latin. So, I mean, I guess y'all figured that when he said, my name's Jose.
Yeah.
That one kind of gave it away. But, so, I mean, most Latin Americans are into soccer. I remember when I was younger growing up in school, they'd always bring that up. Like, everyone's like, oh, you play soccer? It's always, like, the number one thing, because Latins are known for playing soccer.
See, actually, when I was in elementary school, I was, like, in grade, 4, and I was already playing with, the kids that were, in grade 8, and I was just like, hi.
Yeah,
I'm scoring you.
You were playing with the kids in my grade.
Yeah.
I remember having to tell them, yo, guys, that's my bro, be careful. Don't hurt him.
But then I just end up shoving them, go away.
Go away.
Yeah, so that's what I was doing when I was playing soccer.
So you were just... Yeah.
Playing with the older kids because the younger kids were too slow.
So when did you really know you liked soccer as a sport?
Well, I've been playing soccer all my life, right? Since I was a kid.
But when did you
find
I
was always,
was there a distinctive...
I was always into it, but...
There had to be that one moment when you're like, this is it.
I don't know, I think...
Explain your first experience in an official game.
So...
It's can I even remember that?
It was actually in a tournament.
Just skipped normal soccer, just
and
straight up tournament.
And I scored a nice goal. I remember that I just turned around and kicked the ball and got the goalie by surprise.
Right in the corner.
And, no, it wasn't really even, too close to the post. But when the goalie reacted, it was too late because I just turned around and kicked the ball without thinking about it. And it went in. And after that, it was my passion, and I played all the time, and I have played all my life, and now I still play it. I still have the same passion for the game. I don't.
We know?
Yeah. So I mean, I am formally registered with a team and in a league, and I live for game day and stuff like that.
Ball's life.
It's the same basketball as soccer.
And,
the ball on the ground's life.
So focus on making sure that my game is good, that
stamina stays up,
the proper food, and the adequate exercise when I get a chance.
Well, like one of the things that I always find interesting is like the attitude changes. Like I know as soon as Friday, as well as soon like it was summertime here anyway. You can't really play outside in the winter time here, 6 months of winter. But I noticed that from the moment like Thursday night kicks in, you're already like soccer. Tomorrow soccer, soccer,
like
soccer.
tomorrow soccer, right?
In that
first
mode,
meal.
yes.
Yeah, it's like we already know it's coming. Like we foresee it. It's been like this all my life, but it's one of those things that I can remember. Like, and I think that's really interesting too, because growing up, we've been going to watch you play.
Yeah.
And it's always been like this super interesting thing because I don't know, I'm not much of a player myself, but I enjoy watching it. And I think that has a lot to do with it. That like I've been around it like all my life.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Victor actually plays it. I'm just like I'm on the sideline over here, but just watch you do that thing over there.
Yeah.
Like it's not like there's just I don't know. I enjoy having the outside view as opposed to the inside view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when you're outside, you can see everything.
Yeah. Well, like no, like I'm that guy who's like, okay, now make the pass, failed the pass. He had it. Failed the pass.
Because when you're on the field, you're thinking about so much. You're like, okay, well, since I play like midfield, it's like I'm worried about the defense where he's positioned, the player I'm on, and like potential people that are open. So when I get the ball, I can pass to.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? So, like that's one of the biggest things. Okay, now for my question. Big shift here. totally opposite end of the spectrum here.
We're going left field.
It's not baseball.
And we're going out of the field. We're not even in the field. We're in the outfield now.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna ask. So recently, well, I guess since you're older, since we're your kids, as technology has progressed, and we're now in the technological. Well, I mean, you already were in the technological era, but I guess you've kind of seen its progression. Is there anything that scares you for the future, like in technology, like something that you think would go too far?
Wow, from sports to anything that scares you.
No, because like a lot of people are like, they're scared of AI or like autonomous cars, or like we're too hooked up to our phones,
or do you see a problem
or like the microchips
certain...
in our brains, stuff like stuff like that.
Or do you see any like problems in technological advances?
For a very long time, I was afraid that autonomous cars were not going to be the thing to go with. But as my understanding of the technology grows, I'm more accepting of these things. But in reality, I wasn't truly sold on the idea.
Yeah. You're just like, I want to drift. I'm just joking.
But
I still want to be able to drive my car.
The thing is, I've been involved in technology. My work has been in that field, and I understand sensors and how they work and all those things. And when I started looking at the technology that is being used in these cars and the amount of sensors, that's when I realized that yes, they have potential to be safe. Because that was my main concern with cars. Because there are so many variables to take into account, such as in a thunderstorm, there is rain, there is wind, there is thunder, so there is lightning, and
trees are falling,
potholes on the road. Exactly.
Like worst case scenario.
There's so many things going on.
So many things going on at the same time, and rays from a lightning throwing off the visual of the sensor, and so I thought, this could be
problematic.
A possible issue. But the thing is that they are using multiple sensors to do one thing. So if one fails, the other 3 or the other 4 will take care of it, and that's the thing. And in that case, technology becomes superior to humans, right? Yeah. For example, us, with our eyes, it's only 2 eyes. But with this technology, you could have an incredible amount.
360 view.
Yeah,
an incredible amount. That's what they have. Like, there's what is it? There's even there's a car, I think that Toyota or Hyundai is releasing, where it even has a heat sensor, so it can sense people in the car next to it. So say like if it's on the passenger side of the car, and say that they're driving like in a 3-lane road, it'll detect who doesn't have a passenger on which side, and if someone stops in front of them, it'll aim for that side because no one will get hurt if it crashes into where there's no passengers, because it knows, because there's no heat there, right? So it can pick that up, and I'm like, that's insane.
But and again,
that decision,
there has to be more than one.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the reason I bring this up.
More than one sensor.
Yeah.
Now, okay. But let me finish what you were saying, because is there anything that concerns you?
Yeah.
And in reality, no, because everything it's good. But there's one specific thing that is not really technology related, but it's related to the changes in society. And it's the case of euthanasia, where assisted suicide, where they were in the last few weeks here in Canada, the topic has been brought up specifically because they're talking about removing limbs from a person that will be euthanized. And I think that we're entering a very
ethical.
Yeah,
it's like
very
ethical.
We're going overboard with the situation, because we could find people taking organs out of a person. Yes, this person is going to be euthanized, but at the end of the day, you can't not be abusing the right of the rights, the constitutional rights, the human rights of an individual. We need a kidney. This millionaire needs a kidney, and you want us to end your life in a couple of weeks. So, why don't we do it while you're alive? Take the kidney out while you're alive. No, I think it's wrong. And if we go that way, I think we're pushing the envelope too much. And that is the reason why this kind of topics are very difficult.
One of the things, the reason I brought up the whole AI and autonomous cars was because I think it was last month that autonomous cars got cleared to be tested here in Ontario. That's why I brought that up. But the euthanasia thing is like a whole other. It's a whole other ballpark.
Yeah. But you said concern, so I decided to.
Yeah, well, technology. Yeah. But like one of the things I think is interesting. A lot of those things are like super ethical, like dilemmas that we have as a society. Also, as a socialist country as a whole, we tend to stick our foot in a little too deep sometimes. But I mean, like at the same time, like there's the whole aspect of, well, they already do that. Like if someone dies, right, and they like say they're an organ donor, and someone lost an arm, and they're able to take that person's arm and give them that limb, that arm, and then attach it to them. That has been something that I've seen that has been, mind blowing. There was a guy who, he was in a war and he lost, I think both his arms, and his uncle, was dying of, I think, cancer or something like that in his lungs. And he told him that when he passed away, he could take his arms. So he now has 2 functioning arms. He says that the experience of that, which I found super interesting, was that he says that his sense of touch is different to how it used to be, because he no longer feels with his hands, but with someone else's, which is a completely different concept to how we feel. Like there's certain things you never think about, but it's like, that's true. It's not the same feeling, like, and he says
the way a plastic cup would feel wouldn't feel like a plastic cup.
He says
it's a plastic cup.
He says even writing was a little odd at first, because he's like, I had to teach my hands, my writing hand, how to write the way I write again, because it's
also the fact that the hand might not be comfortable to the position.
He was saying how he had to relearn how to write, because the hand he normally wrote with.
The thing is, there are the brain is connected to all of this, right?
Right, yeah.
And it's possible that the finger size and the hand size,
the muscle size,
and the strength, and
it's all different.
So all of that is different.
Yeah.
So it has an effect.
And I found that super amazing, like, because of the way they adjust the how they prepare the other end of the body to make the attachment. It's actually
they have to connect nerves.
Yeah, they have to connect nerves, muscle, tissue, like veins. it's something super complicated and super complex.
At this point in the medical area, now they're looking at like the way the hair grows. Yeah. So like if it matches the certain patterns that you have, like say the hair that's growing on your leg. So that way it matches, like say somebody lost an arm, and like somebody else is dying and they're willing to give up like a limb. They'll see if the way their hair pattern grows is the same to the other hand they have.
That's crazy.
So to that extent, so that way the hand looks the same.
Honestly, like that's just being nitpicky. I got an arm.
Yeah, but
who cares?
It's cool.
But like there's like a lot like there's so many things like that I'm just like advancements have been good, you know, for some people, right? And then then there's the other thing where it's like, what are you doing? You know, it's like there's always been those like I don't know. But I think it's interesting. So I believe it's your turn now to ask a question. Because we went totally off topic.
Yeah. So let's see. Favorite kind of cuisine? You know, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food? Well, through life, you go through... In life, you go through changes. And lately, I'm becoming a little bit more of a natural type of fan, you know, where I am...
eating everything organic.
Yeah, everything organic or natural.
Live at Whole Foods.
Just it's that's what it is.
We're going to Whole Foods.
I really enjoy avocado. It's one of my favorite foods. I can eat avocado almost every day.
It's really funny. He'll be like,
it's a healthy fat.
No, yeah, but it's really funny because anytime he's like, I'm craving this, and this with avocados, or this, and this. Avocados. And it's like, and there'll be times where he'll say he's craving
aguacate
for those who speak Spanish. And there are times that I find it super funny because he'll say like, oh, I want this. And I'm like, and no avocado? He's like, of course with avocado. And I'm like, we don't have any. And he's like, well, then go get some.
No, that's true.
Like it's one of those like well, but we all have like our favorite, vegetable or fruit or whatever.
But yeah, well, the thing is that I have been pretty diverse when it comes to food. I always
but let's say
trying different restaurants.
No, I think it's the fact that we live in Canada,
yeah,
right? And we're like a very
variety.
Multicultural, diverse society where like you can like a couple of minutes from our house, you can get Indian, Chinese, Greek, Lebanese, and it's just there, like you just walk out the door and it's just there.
Yeah.
So like it's in an abundance of different culture. All that like. I can't remember. I went to recently. I was volunteering when I was in school. Anyway, it's not important. But they had like this like cultural thing that happened, and there were all these like different stations to try food, and I tried like these Serbian things and like these Russian. Like I didn't even know these things were from these countries. I'm like, oh, I've actually eaten this before, and they're like, oh, so no, they're like, oh, but that's like the Lebanese one. It's the different one. This is the right one. And I'm like, there's a right one?
What's it called? There's a thing we have called tamales.
Yeah.
Where like they're made differently in El Salvador from the way they are made in like Honduras,
Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua. Yeah. Like everyone has their own variation of it. And it's like, it's not that it's like, it tastes different, but it's like, oh, this is actually not that bad. Like, because you hold your standard in your head. You're like, oh, I like the Mexican one or I like the Salvadorian one. It's the same story with the pupusa. Everyone has their own variation of it, but we all know deep down inside that the Salvadorian one is the best one. I'm sorry. It's the truth. But it's because like every time you go to a Salvadorian restaurant, that's what you ask for. It's hard to be let down. Yeah. It's hard to be let down. But it's
that or pupusas.
Yeah. Well, no, but that's what I'm getting at. Like, it's just based on like the country and the culture. Right, and because we grew up here in Canada, right, like it's just little chunks of
also
whatever.
You must have a cup of horchata.
Horchata?
Yeah. Horchata.
Yeah.
Canadian.
I am a Canadian. I was born here. What do you want?
True.
Like,
you're not a full breed.
I'm a hybrid. What do you want? Like, but like, what was it? There's a lot of stuff like that. Well, also like growing up, the way we did, like, we talked about this also with our sister when she was on podcast, episode 6, I believe.
Yeah.
Want to go back and listen to that? Just letting y'all know. I found it like super interesting that, even though we were in Canada, you and our mom took the liberty of teaching us Spanish. Like, how did that come about? Like, just out of curiosity, like, did you guys ever like have that conversation? Was it like, Is it something you always knew you wanted?
No, not really. No, not really. It just happened.
It just happened.
It
It's
just
because
happened.
they were raising it, what I think.
I mean, in the back of your head, yes, it is. You know, I want my kids to know my language. But you don't really have to go through an effort to do it. It just happens, right? That when you, from the beginning, you're talking to the baby and you're already saying things in Spanish. And I guess it was a little bit more difficult for me because I moved to North America when I was 16, almost 17. And now I'm 52. And it's all this time I had lived in North America. So when, kids came along, I was already
super ingrained in English. Yeah.
So anyways.
No, I remember, actually, I was having this conversation with this person from Cuba. I was asking her, like, do you remember the moment you stopped thinking in Spanish? And she was like, the moment I stopped thinking in Spanish. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, because a lot of, like, wherever you're from, a lot of people can recall when they used to think in their home language, right? Wherever they're at, their ethnic language, right?
Well,
and then they've been so ingrained in this English culture that it gets to a point where even your thoughts are in English.
Well, you don't. It's just automatic. It's just there, right?
Yeah, it's just there, right?
You start getting this mixed English and Spanish.
No, but
then your brain starts getting.
You don't even have to think.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm with someone that only speaks Spanish, I have no problem, right? And of course, sometimes some of the words, there's a little bit of a delay for them to coming back.
Yeah, because they're not it's not common, right?
But for the most part, English or Spanish, I'm okay. I don't have to be translating. I don't have to. It's just there.
What I realized is when I went to Mexico, what I realized is my thinking within like 3 days, it had changed from like English to Spanish because everywhere I'd look, obviously Spanish.
But it's not. It's more of a habit than what.
Yeah. No, like so actually when when I was in high school, there was a lot of like international kids from Colombia, from Chile, from Brazil, and some from Argentina. A lot of them would tell me how they found it crazy how fast I could transition between Spanish and English. They're like, it's like there's no like delay. Like, cause one minute you're talking to me in Spanish and then you turn, look at the guy next to you and you'd be like translating what you had just said to me. Like I remember this one girl actually from Colombia. She was just like blown away by that. She's like, I need to be like that when I leave from here. She's like, cause that is just nuts. I'm like, I grew up here and I've been speaking Spanish and English basically all my life. I'm like, that's the difference. You're going to be here, like 7 months? It's not enough time. But that's the thing. And especially here, we call it, well, especially at home, we call it Span English because we're like always talking in some type. We're jumping back. Like right now, I'm having a really hard time trying not to say words. And like I'm struggling. Like if you hadn't noticed, I'm like pausing every so often. Just like, don't say it in Spanish. It's bizarre.
It's interesting. When I truly thought that, okay, now definitely my life is in English, is when I had a dream with my mother and she was talking to me in English. And that's when I realized, wait a minute. She doesn't know a word of English, right? But the whole dream was in English. I remember her, talking to me from the kitchen, back home. And
the words are coming out in English.
and she was talking to me in English. And I go, what? But I didn't,
It's like, Mom, when did you learn English?
But I didn't realize this until when I woke up. That's when I realized, wait a minute. That was in English. That was weird. But at that point, you
must accept it.
Well, no, that your mind is already there. And I'm glad that you don't lose the language and stays with you, and it's really cool.
Yeah,
that you can go back and forth.
Well, a lot of people, like especially for us, a lot of people are surprised that we speak it as well as we do. They're like I even had people ask me when I came to Canada, and I'm like, I'm from here. They're like, really? No way! Like that can't be. Like you had to become like you were like at least 4 or 5. Like nah, and it's one of those like I always find it like Like when I tell them I was raised in Canada, they're just like, "You're raised in Canada?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like I was born here, and that trips up a lot of people because they don't grasp, like especially people who are Latin and have kids, and they never made. It's not that they didn't have the effort; they just never took that approach, right? To talk to their kid in Spanish, they talked to their kid in English. The kids went to English schools, and we never got proper Spanish. We were never taught proper, like in a school setting, but we know it and we can read it with varying degrees of success, of course, but we have enough to grab our bearings, and that really blows people away. The other thing I was going to ask, well, since we're here, was it a big culture shock when you got here?
No, not really. Well, no, not really, because I went to the United States first.
Yeah. I remember that.
And that.
So the question we should be asking is, was it a big culture shock when you went to the States?
No, not really. Because in there, the Latin American community is
massive,
fairly large, and so
there's more of them there than here.
Yeah, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But the language was something that I felt that I needed to learn fast, and so right away I registered myself to go to high school, and and that's how I learned the language fast.
You had to throw your stuff in.
Oh yeah. Well,
like that's like a lot of people. There's actually I've met a few people who they say that as soon as they got here, the first thing they did was go to school. They're like, cause that's the only way. They're like, I didn't even go take like actual like English classes. I took like whatever. They're like, why? I'm like, because it's not like you're not learning English. They're like, you're forced to learn whatever you're being taught because you want to pass the class. It's more of like, it's not like, it's an option type thing. It's more like, I'm not going to pass this class if I don't learn it now, right? You figure yourself out.
Well, in my case, yes. In my case, I needed to finish high school and learn the language. So that's how I did it. But for a person that it's already an adult and that they want to integrate into society, I think that they need to learn the language first.
Yeah.
Or at least, go to school for a year and try to learn the language.
Get their bearings.
Yeah, the basics there.
Yeah, right? that tends to be one of the things that I've noticed. Like, there are actually, since we're talking about language now, whenever we're talking with people that we know, and they're like from little towns, they'll say Spanish words that will throw us off. We'll be like, what is that, right? Because it's like the slang from this little town that they only say in this specific little town. And I'm like, how did... That doesn't even sound like,
yeah.
And there are things like that still kind of trip me up. But there are people who I've met who are like, oh, I know exactly where they're from just because they said that. And I'm like, how do you know that? Like, I can't like, but the other thing too is that I think is we don't have an accent in our Spanish.
Yeah.
So we're like neutral. That's what they tell us.
But I do.
Yeah, well, you do.
So, anyways, going back to your question, culture shock. I guess part of the reason why it wasn't too much of a change or a surprise to me was that I grew up in a city, and so, I was used to city life. So coming to the American cities didn't impacted me too much.
You had an idea.
But I'm thinking that people that come from the farmland or
the countryside.
Small little, or the countryside, or little villages and stuff like that. I think that for them must be hard.
Oh yeah.
Like even
like so many like
even the way they eat, right?
Yeah. Like
they're
one of Victor's friends, what was it, Sir Paula?
Yeah.
He on the podcast he was telling us how before the only kids that he grew up around were 20 kids. Then overnight he's like, I go to school and there's like 500 kids every day there, like it's just like he had never seen so many kids and kids his own age, right? Mm-hmm. Like to him it was just what?
What's it called? I remember the first time he actually saw snow. Right. It was just like, it's water. Right? He's like, but it's cold.
Right? Like that. Those are like, I'm sure you experienced that too, like snow.
Yeah.
It's just like, one day you wake up.
It's just cool. It's all
it's
white.
like, yeah, it's just, but it's something, I don't know. I think it's something people need to experience at one point in their life. They have to go somewhere where, it's just slightly falling, nice and calm, and you walk outside and it's warm out. And the snow is just like slowly trickling down.
Yeah, and it's glistening.
Yeah, and it's just, there's something about that experience that to me, it makes me so happy to live in Canada.
Yes.
Also, the seasons here. We have like all the seasons here.
Even though we don't have a raining season, it still kind of rains.
It grows on you, right? Like in my case, for example, I don't get faced by the weather in Canada. Yeah. I don't even think about it. Winter comes, cool, great, no problem. Let's just get the proper clothing out and
move on.
Move on, right?
Okay.
That it's going to be over in 4 or 5 months. You're back to nice weather
it's like
again.
6 at this point.
Wow. Yeah, well, this was an unusual type of
year
season, but for sure, it's to me it's a mind game. I even Canadian born, they complain about winter.
But that's like a millennial thing. We complain about breathing sometimes.
Why do I gotta breathe all the time?
Don't get me going with millennials. But that's the thing. But going back to your question, I think that for people from the countryside, for them must be hard.
Yeah.
Some of them, they don't even know how to read.
Yeah.
And now they have to go to school to learn another language when they don't even know how to write their own.
Yeah.
It must be difficult. Must be challenging. And that's one thing that
I think I've told this story before. I'm not sure if I told it on the podcast, but when I was in grade, I want to say 11, we had a teacher who told us a story about how this kid from Africa had just arrived to Canada, and he's like, he spoke a bit of English already because he was taught when he was little, and because one of his parents knew English, and he asked to go to the washroom. And he went to the washroom, and he's like, my class ended, and he never came back. So I'm like, maybe he got lost. It's a fairly big school. So I'm like, okay, and I'm like, I asked some kids to go looking for him, and I'm like, I'll go check the washroom. He's like, so I walk into the washroom, and he's just sitting there with the cold water tap open, running his hands through the water, and he's like, he turns and looks at me, he's like, it never runs out, right? And you're just like, he's like, in that moment, like, I'm like, just give me a hug, because he had never experienced running water, like the tap water, and like, stuff like that just, you take for granted, right? But it's like here, like, if you go to a tap, water's always gonna come out. Like, it's a guarantee that unless of course they're doing like
you leave it open and it won't stop.
Yeah, like unless of course they're doing maintenance work and wherever, like we're fixing the pipes or whatever, right? But other than that, it's like so it's interesting how living in Canada, we have this experience. Right, like other people have to walk miles, kilometers to get water, and when they get back and they boil it down and get it clean, it's not even that much water, right? So it's like, to me anyway.
No, but in Canada we don't have this.
That's what I'm saying, right? How we take it. I think it's interesting how we take this the most precious resource we have on Earth for granted here. Like we don't really cherish it the way we should.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. That's a very good point. We don't really appreciate the kind of it's a blessing, really, to have the life that you can have here in North America.
Yeah. What do you think?
Oh, I think. Well, I agree with you how we do take it for granted, because we just turn on the tap of water, we know it's going to come out, or like let's say. Like we let's say we're going on a hiking trip, we're not worried like, oh no, there's no water for like a few kilometers, we can just pull out a water bottle, 'cause, we had tap earlier.
Is it like even when we go camping, like there are little like stations where you like fill up water.
Yeah.
Like that's
not real survival.
That's like I always find that super interesting. How like, oh yeah, just go turn up that, water's gonna come. Like we're camping, like
you can like in some camping places, like you can take showers.
Yeah, like that like those are like, it's like camping, but like
No.
It's like living. You're sleeping in a tent. That's really what camping is here, you know?
Yeah.
You're just sleeping in a tent.
Well, and the way you cook.
Well, yeah, and the way... Well, I mean, everything over fire tastes good.
Yeah.
The thing is that there are facilities, right, in most camping sites.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's washrooms, showers, a laundry room, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that you have in the city, right?
Yeah.
Electricity, again, you know. So... The difference is that you're cooking with wood.
Yeah.
You know, in a fire pit, and you're in the forest, and you're sleeping in the forest, hearing the birds.
It makes you feel like you're a part of wilderness with your cell phone in your left hand.
And with your right, you're flipping the burger over the ribs.
Yeah. So I mean,
of steak.
it's been in the wild with some of the perks from the city.
The accommodations of city life.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like, well, even now, like, I think countryside living now is very much the way it is everywhere else, right? Like, I mean, at least here in Canada anyway, like, you go to the countryside and they have, like, everything, right? You know, like, they're still going to have a Walmart at wherever the town it is or whatever. Which I think is kind of funny, but it's super interesting how you know, like all these things that we have, right, as opposed to like other countries. And I think it's
okay. I want to flip it on you guys.
Okay, sure.
So Victor, what are you into these days?
What am I into?
Yeah.
Well, I recently got an electric guitar. So
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I've been playing that a lot more. Just music. That's been my life recently in schoolwork. Yeah, that's generally it. What about you, bro?
Oh, he turns just like, guys, help! I don't know what else to say. Help!
Well, like yesterday, I played my first game actually for a soccer team that my dad found.
Oh, because you're in a new soccer team.
Yeah, because I'm in a soccer team.
Let's say, like, okay, so me, what I've been up to? I've been doing a lot of. I don't know. Every year, I say I'm gonna write a book, and I finally finished the timeline for my story the other day. I've actually been working on it because I've been trying to write a book for since I was like in grade 9, I think. Every year I'm like, I have this amazing story in my head, and I've been sitting on it for so long. I'm like, I just need to put it down. I just need to type it all out. Yeah. And I finally, like, I have the timeline done, and I don't know how I'm going to write it down or how I'm going to get to it. But I want to get it done at least before, like, in the next 3 years. Actually, I want to have it done before I'm 25.
Yeah, now that you say that, I've thought about, like, writing a manga. It's basically anime.
So, like, a comic book?
Basically.
Because you're in North America.
Fuck, I have to go to Japan to write it. No, I just turn the papers, like, the other way, so that you just switch. Yeah, like... It's a manga.
Right, what is it, left to right?
Well... People say it's not anime, but it's also the style of the way the art was drawn.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not going to get into that now. Yeah, but, okay, so I've been doing that. Also, I've been listening to an audio book. Oh, actually, I'm already on the second book. I'm like 52 hours in now, and it's like, it's only been 2 weeks since I started, and I'm like, I'm just flying through. But yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Well, the other thing, I think that the thing that's really intriguing about it is the fact that it's a graphic audio book. So, like, there's background music. There's, like, when there's battles, you hear the clashing of swords. And, like, there's, like, all these crazy sound effects.
It's basically like watching a movie through your ears.
Yeah, but it's actually, their slogan is a movie in your mind. When it starts, every time it's like, a movie in your mind. Brought to you by. And it's just like, so yeah, it's just like an audio book in your mind. And it's super, I guess it's interesting how, what is it? The other day I was listening to it, and there was like a scene where they're like, and the room went black, and Victor walked into the room and shut off the lights, and I'm like, what's going on?
It's affecting reality.
I'm like, it's affecting reality. What's going on? Like, there's stuff like that, you know, just throws you off. Yeah, but like, that's what I've been really into lately. Also, like, I'm doing a course in the summer, but that's like, you know, more school. Yeah, and I'm looking for a job in parentheses. because I really haven't been looking lately. But
so you guys are pretty busy.
Well, I wouldn't say busy. It's more like, well,
No. When I say busy, it's because you guys got lots of things on the go. Like, Victor was saying, guitar, music.
Well, it's because like
soccer. Plus school. So yeah, I guess it is busy.
I've gotten to a point now where, well, I guess like, because there's like, when I'm in school, there's like a lot of things I want to do, but I don't have to, like, it's been amazing. We've been able to keep this up for 22 weeks straight, in my opinion. Because to be honest, like, we would have at least like missed a week by now. Like, I know people, like, there are other people who do podcasts who record like, they're like 5 weeks ahead, right? That's how far in advance the recordings are. But in our case, we're going week to week, if not sometimes even recording the same day we upload. We'll wake up like early, we'll record at night, and then because it gets so late, we'll be like, okay, we'll go to bed now, wake up early, finish the episode off in the morning. So we'll just pause the recording, leave everything as it is, go to bed, wake up, finish the recording, and then he'll go to school. I'll get on, I'll start editing. Like that's how we're so on like this like crazy fly thing.
Yeah.
And and with scheduling people, like
also, let's say something happens on the news, right? It won't be that old for people. It'd be like, oh, this happened this week.
Yeah, like we're like pretty current with it, that because of that, which I think is interesting. Like, so like say a movie comes out, we'll be talking, like if we go to see it the premiere day, we'll be talking about it on the podcast without spoiling, because that's already happened.
We'll be like, it's so good.
Yeah, I'll be like, oh god.
Well, apparently.
No. Yeah. Okay. So for context, we showed our dad the kid who says apparently.
The apparently kid.
I know that's kind of old now, but it was this whole thing that we went through here at home. The apparently kid.
Because I'm just like, have you guys watched the apparently kid? And they're just like, who? I'm like, yeah, the apparently kid. And they're just like, okay.
Well, apparently. Oh, what is it? And then the girl, look at all those chickens.
Oh yeah, it's
like all these random birds. It's like, but Vine is dead.
Yeah.
We sadly lost Vine in, was it 2016 or something?
I don't remember.
We lost, no, was it 15? I think it was 16. I think it was 2016.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're out of time. Oh, yeah, we're out of time. Sadly.
Yeah. Okay, so follow us on Spotify, leave a comment in Apple Podcasts, because you can.
Rate us on Apple Podcasts.
Rate us there too.
You can rate us on Anchor. You can like us on Anchor. You can comment on Anchor. You can also leave us a voice message via Anchor. Who knows? Maybe we'll shout you out or whatever. Send us an email. Tweet at us. All of this stuff is in the description.
All the time.
Every episode. Follow us on Instagram. I promise I'll start posting soon. I'm busy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I fixed the profile picture though. I did give us a profile picture. It's our logo. But I haven't had time to post a single picture yet.
I have some ideas for some photos.
Yeah. We'll get that done.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Have fun with life.
Have fun with life.
Don't do drugs. Stay in school.
Any advice you'd like to give the people?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me. I thought it was going to be a little bit more pressure to be going through this, but
it's just like people like get so nervous.
It was pretty casual and stuff like that. I wasn't nervous, but I certainly expected a little bit more pressure. But obviously, it's just a conversation.
It's just a conversation. Like, a lot of people are like, that was actually so much fun. Like, what? Yeah. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, it was an easy thing. Yeah. Well.
Except it was all over the place.
Yeah, but it is important to know. Don't lose your identity. Remember who you are and make us proud.
Yeah. The State of the Union, guys. All right.
Well, you'll hear us on the next one.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.